Yo, what's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into GHOUL RE and talking about one of the biggest decisions every player faces, picking the right Kagune or Quinque. With so many options, it's easy to get stuck wondering which one to re-roll for. Sure, every Kagune and Quinque comes with its own skills and abilities, but let's be real, not all of them are created equal. Some are straight up broken, while others, well, let's just say they won't carry you very far. That's why we've put together the ultimate Kagune and Quinque tier list for GHOUL RE. Whether you're looking for insane damage, top-tier mobility, or the best overall versatility, we've got you covered. Stick around because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly which ones are worth your time, and which ones you should avoid at all costs. Let's get into it. I'm quickly moving on to the video, and I'm ranking Kagunes and Quinques in GHOUL RE. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching. First, let's start with the Kagunes. The Kagunes in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, beaked. You ever pick something in a game and immediately regret it? Yeah. That's kinda how it feels to use beaked in GHOUL RE. It's sitting alone in C tier for a reason. Sure, it has okay-ish mobility and some AoE potential, but that's about where the positives end. The damage? Pretty bad. The overall usefulness? Meh. When every other Kagune in the game just does more, it's hard to justify using beaked unless you're really trying to challenge yourself, or just like the look of it. At the end of the day, beaked is the definition of, you could use it, but why would you? It doesn't have the power to keep up with higher tier Kagune, and its utility isn't impressive enough to make up for the lack of damage. If you're just starting out, you might get some use out of it, but once you unlock better options, you'll probably never look back. Unless, of course, you just love making things harder for yourself. In that case, hey, you do you. The Kagunes in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Tsukiyama, Yamori, Nishio, and Wing. Alright, let's talk about the B tier Kagune in GHOUL RE. Now, don't get me wrong, these Kagune are solid picks, especially early on. They can hold their own in PvE, and some even have decent potential in PvP. But as the game progresses and you start facing tougher enemies, they do tend to fall off when compared to the legendary ones. Still, if you know how to use them right, they can absolutely carry you through the early grind. Let's break them down. First up, Tsukiyama. If you're looking for a rare Kagune with a simple, easy-to-land combo, this one's a decent choice. It deals solid damage, and if you're just starting out, it'll feel pretty smooth to use. The downside? No mobility. You're pretty much locked in place, and against faster enemies or in PvP, that's a major weakness. Plus, once you start fighting people or bosses with legendary Kagune, you'll quickly realize that Tsukiyama just doesn't hit as hard. Good for starting out, but don't expect it to carry you forever. Then we've got Yamori. This one's okay. Not terrible, not amazing, it has decent range, a bit of AoE, and the combo isn't bad, but that's about it. Like Tsukiyama, it suffers from zero mobility, meaning you're stuck trading blows instead of dodging and repositioning. And when you compare its damage output to legendary Kagune, it just doesn't hold up. It's fun to use early on, but you'll definitely want to upgrade as soon as you get the chance. Now let's talk about Nishio. This is where things start getting more interesting. Nishio is one of the best common Kagune because it balances range, damage, and mobility in a way that makes it feel really smooth to play. Plus, it has a V2, which is actually really good. The only downside? It takes a bit of skill to use effectively. If you just mash buttons without thinking, you won't get the best results. But if you take the time to learn its mechanics, Nishio can carry you way longer than most common Kagune. Definitely a strong pick for anyone who wants something with both power and flexibility. And then we have Wing, arguably the best B-tier Kagune. Why? Because it excels at what early game PvE is all about: kiting bosses. The combination of great mobility, solid range, and high damage makes it a fantastic option for staying on the move while dealing damage at a distance. Plus, it has a V2, though funnily enough, some players actually prefer V1 because it just feels smoother. The only real downside is that Wing requires good aim, which makes it a bit harder to use effectively in PvP. If you miss your hits, you won't get much value out of it. But for PvE, easily one of the best common Kagune you can get. So, overall, the B-tier Kagune are a mixed bag. Some are solid for beginners, like Tsukiyama and Yamori, while others, like Nishio and Wing, can actually compete with stronger Kagune if used correctly. If you're starting fresh in GHOUL RE and manage to pull Wing V1, you're in luck, because that thing can take you pretty far. But once you start facing tougher enemies and higher level players, you'll definitely want to keep an eye out for an upgrade. At the end of the day, these Kagune aren't bad. They just need the right player to bring out their full potential. Whether you're dashing around with Nishio, kiting bosses with Wing, or just getting some easy early game kills with Tsukiyama, there's definitely value in these B-tier picks. Just be ready to switch things up when the game starts throwing tougher opponents your way. The Kagunes in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Ito and Noro. Alright, let's talk about the A-tier Kagunes in GHOUL RE. These Kagunes aren't the absolute top tier, but they're still solid choices if you're looking to make your mark in both PvP and PvE. You won't feel like you're missing out too much, and with a little bit of skill, you can make these Kagunes really shine. So, let's dive into a couple of the best picks in this tier and why they're so good. First up, we've got Ito. This Kagune is all about mobility and combo potential, making it perfect for those who like to keep their enemies on their toes. With Ito, you can move quickly and flow through your attacks in a way that makes you hard to hit. Plus, her frenzy state is a game changer. It can help you turn the tide of a fight when things are looking rough. The catch? Ito has relatively low total damage, so you'll need to rely on your skill to land those hits and maximize her abilities. If you're up for the challenge though, Ito can really pay off with some great results. Now let's talk about Noro. If you're looking for a Kagune that's a beast in 1v1s, Noro is your go-to. The fact that it has a V2 form is a huge plus, and it gives you access to some extra power. What's really nice about Noro is that it has hyper armor on a lot of its skills, which gives you that extra bit of tankiness when you're going toe-to-toe with other players. However, getting Noro to V2 is key to unlocking its true potential. Until then, it can feel a bit weak, and there's that annoying knockback on skills before you land C twice, which can throw you off during fights. But once you've got it to V2, Noro becomes a real powerhouse. So if you're rolling with these Kagunes, you're in a pretty good spot. They might require a bit more skill and patience to master, but once you get the hang of them, Ito and Noro can help you dominate your opponents. Whether you prefer the agility and combo potential of Ito or the tankiness and 1v1 prowess of Noro, these Kagunes offer solid options for players who want a well-rounded experience. The Kagunes in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Ken, Takezawa, Yomo, and Mayu. Let's talk about the absolute beasts of GHOUL RE, the S-tier Kagune. These bad boys aren't just the best of the best. They dominate both PvP and PvE, and are the ones you'll want to get your hands on if you're serious about rising to the top of the food chain. But hey, don't get too excited just yet because they're also the hardest to get, with only a 3% roll chance for legendary Kagune. That said, if you manage to snag one of these, you're going to have one of the most powerful tools in the game at your disposal. So, let's break down what makes these Kagune so legendary. First up, we've got Ken, and wow, does this Kagune pack a punch! It's one of the best when it comes to raw DPS. Ken can melt through enemies faster than you can blink. The best part? It has a V2 form and even a special mode called Kakuja, making it even more powerful and versatile. This Kagune has extreme combo potential, and almost all of its skills have some form of crowd control, CC, making it perfect for both dealing damage and controlling the battlefield. Now the downside is that before you get your hands on V2, its range is a bit lacking. Plus, it does take a little bit of skill to master, but if you can unlock its full potential, you'll be wrecking opponents left and right. Next up, let's talk about Takezawa, and honestly, this Kagune is an absolute game changer. The mobility is insane, and not just in the usual ways. It has fantastic melee AoE, area of effect, making it perfect for clearing out groups of enemies. On top of that, Takezawa offers invulnerability on several of its moves, meaning you can dish out damage while being nearly untouchable. It's one of the best choices for those 1vx encounters, where you're up against multiple enemies and need to stay on the offensive. Plus, like Ken, Takezawa has a V2 form, which takes things to a whole new level. The only catch? The range is a bit low, except for the aerial critical, but that's just a small price to pay for such an awesome Kagune. Now let's talk about Yomo. If you're into mobility, this Kagune is definitely one to consider. Yomo excels in moving around quickly with almost every skill, allowing you to easily dodge attacks and stay on the move. It also has decent damage, so it can hold its own in fights. One of the coolest things about Yomo is how easy it is to land combos with it. It's perfect for players who want to keep their opponents on their toes. That said, Yomo's range is on the shorter side, and its AoE, aside from the second critical, is pretty limited. But if you're good with positioning and quick attacks, Yomo can be a real powerhouse. Then there's Mayu, and this Kagune brings a whole new level of strategy to the table. Mayu has custom M1s, which means you can mix up your attacks and keep your opponents guessing. The skill animations are super quick, and the damage output is fantastic. What really sets Mayu apart is its utility with traps. It's great for setting up ambushes or controlling the battlefield. However, it does lack mobility on its skills, so you'll need to be more strategic with your positioning. If you can get past the slower mobility, Mayu is a devastating Kagune to wield. Overall, these S-tier Kagune are absolute powerhouses, and if you manage to get your hands on one, you're going to be a force to be reckoned with. They all have their strengths and weaknesses, but what really sets them apart is their versatility and sheer power. Whether you're looking for insane DPS, crazy mobility, or just a Kagune that can do it all, these four are the ones to go for. Just remember, they might be hard to get, but trust me, it's totally worth it if you manage to roll one of these bad boys. So, good luck, and may your RNG be ever in your favor. Now let's move on to Quinques. The Kagunes in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Demon Yamada, Bokusatsu, Scorpion, Kajiri, and Dojima. Alright, let's talk about the Quinque in the C tier in GHOUL RE. Now don't get me wrong, these guys may not be the flashiest, but they've got their own little charm. You're probably familiar with them, as they're the easiest to unlock, but they definitely have some limitations. So, let's break down what makes each of these Quinque unique and how you can get the most out of them. First off, we have the Quinque. These are your basic go-to Quinque, and while they might not blow anyone away with insane skills or damage, they're still a good starting point. They have simple crafting recipes, making them easy to unlock, especially if you're just starting out. They're pretty basic in combat too, so you'll want to use them for learning the ropes of GHOUL RE before you move on to something a bit more powerful. They may not have the flashiest abilities, but they're reliable when you need them. Then we've got Demon Yamada. If you're a fan of easy-to-land combos with decent damage, this Quinque might be right up your alley. It has solid AoE, area of effect, on most of its attacks, which is nice for clearing out groups of enemies. However, the catch here is its incredibly low range and mobility. Anything with range can easily kite it, meaning you'll have to get in close and personal, which isn't always ideal. It's definitely more of a close combat Quinque, so you'll need to pick your battles carefully. Next is Bokusatsu, which has some pretty solid combo potential. This Quinque can dish out some decent AoE damage, though the attack radius isn't huge. The main issue here, however, is the long skill animations. Some of its moves are just way too easy to block, meaning you'll need to be extra strategic to make sure you land those attacks. It's got a lot of potential, but you have to be really mindful of timing, or you'll find yourself whiffing a lot of moves. If you're looking for some mobility, Scorpion might be the Quinque for you. It's one of the best common Quinque, thanks to its excellent mobility and combo potential. It shines in 1v1 situations, making it a great pick when you're facing off against a single opponent. That said, it's not that great before you unlock V2, so you'll need to be patient before you see its true potential. Its damage is lower compared to some of the legendary Quinque, but with the right setup, it can still pack a punch. Now let's talk about Kajiri. This Quinque's strength lies in its excellent ranged moves, which are perfect for kiting enemies. If you're into the early game PvE, Kajiri is one of the best Quinque to use since its ranged abilities make it a lot easier to deal with enemies from a distance. However, it's not very mobile, and its skills are pretty easy to block, which can make it tough to land hits in certain situations. You'll need to have excellent aim to make the most out of this one. Moving on to Dojima, which has some pretty solid AoE damage and good mobility once you unlock V2. Before V2, however, this Quinque doesn't really shine, so you'll need to be patient to see its true potential. Once you unlock V2, the mobility is fantastic, but the damage still lags behind compared to some of the legendaries. Still, it's a fun Quinque to use once you get the upgrades, so don't count it out just because it's a bit weaker at first. So, there you have it. The C-tier Quinque may not be the absolute best, but they've all got their own charm and potential. They're great for beginners, easy to unlock, and can really shine if you know how to use them. Whether you're landing solid AoE hits with Demon Yamada, getting up close and personal with Scorpion, or kiting with Kagure, these Quinque can still be a lot of fun. Just keep in mind their limitations, and you'll get the most out of them. The kagunes in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Serate, Nutcracker, Chi-Chi, and Yukimura. Let's talk about the B-tier Quinque in GHOUL RE. Now, don't get me wrong, these Quinque are solid choices, especially for those early and mid-game stages where you're grinding through enemies and working your way up. They've got good damage, diverse abilities, and are definitely reliable. But when you start looking at the legendary Quinque, you'll realize these guys are just a stepping stone to bigger and better things. Still, let's break down what makes them tick and why you might want to give them a go. First up, we've got Serate. This Quinque is a beast when it comes to 1v1 combat. The combo is easy to land, and the damage it deals is nothing to scoff at. If you're looking for something solid for dueling, this is one of the best rare Kagune you can grab. The downside? The range and mobility are terrible. Serate is basically a sitting duck against anything with a bit of range, so you'll need to close the gap fast and hope you don't get kited around. It's great in close combat, but just be aware that it struggles when things get ranged. Next, let's talk about Nutcracker. This Quinque is one of the top rare choices for a reason. It has excellent utility and a great range, making it versatile enough for both offensive and defensive playstyles. The damage is solid as well, so it's definitely not lacking there. The catch is its mobility. It's not the fastest or most agile Quinque, so you'll need to time your moves carefully. Plus, it does require a bit of skill to really master and make the most out of its abilities. But if you've got the know-how, Nutcracker can really shine in various situations. Now, we've got Chi-Chi, another Quinque that's strong on damage and combo potential. The combo is relatively easy to land, and most of its moves have pretty decent AoE. That makes it pretty effective against groups of enemies, which is great for clearing mobs. But here's the catch. Chi-Chi has absolutely no mobility and a very short range. Plus, a lot of its moves are easy to block, meaning you'll need to be strategic with your attacks. If you can overcome these weaknesses, it's a solid choice, but it can be tricky if you get caught in a fight with someone who knows how to dodge. Finally, we've got Yukimura, which is known for its mobility and AoE damage. It's a fantastic choice for grinding, especially early on, because it has a really good V2 upgrade that boosts its effectiveness significantly. It's one of the best common Quinque for general progression, which makes it a great tool for leveling up and dealing with regular enemies. However, its damage and range aren't quite on par with some of the legendary Quinque, so it can fall short against tougher opponents. Still, with that V2, it's definitely a Quinque you'll want to use for grinding, at least until you unlock something better. So these B-tier Quinque are solid picks if you're looking for dependable damage and some nice variety in your kit. They each have their unique strengths, but you'll need to work around their weaknesses if you want to maximize their potential. While they're great for getting through the early to mid-game, just keep in mind that once you start getting your hands on those legendary Quinque, these might not be the first choices in your lineup anymore. That said, don't sleep on them. They're still fun to use and can get you through some tough situations with the right strategy. The Kagunes in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Narukami, Aus, and Quai. Alright, let's talk about some of the Quinque and GHOUL RE that sit comfortably in the A tier. These Quinque are solid picks for both PvP and PvE, especially when you're in the mid to late game. But, and here's the catch, while they're great, they're still not quite at the level of S-tier Quinque. That said, they can definitely hold their own and provide you with some serious power on the battlefield. So, let's dive into these A-tier Quinque and see what makes them stand out. First up, we've got Narukami. Now, this Quinque is an absolute beast when it comes to AoE, area of effect skills. It has both melee and ranged modes, giving you a lot of versatility in different situations. It's easily one of the best Quinque for PvE, especially when you're up against a horde of enemies. However, here's the catch. Using Narukami requires a fair amount of skill. Aiming at skills in PvP can be a real challenge, so if you're still trying to master it, you might struggle a bit in fast-paced battles. But once you get the hang of it, this Quinque can dish out some serious damage. Next up, we've got Aus. This Quinque is a fantastic choice for PvP. Why? Because it's super easy to land combos with it, and it has a ton of gap closers in its kit. The moves are hard to block, making it a real nightmare for opponents who are trying to dodge or counter. The beauty of GHOUL is its simplicity. The kit is straightforward and easy to pick up, which makes it great for players who want to focus on landing those hits rather than memorizing complex combos. That said, its low mobility can be a bit of a downside, and the Z skill requires precise aiming, so you'll need some practice to really make the most of it. Moving on to Quai, this Quinque has some strong combos and gap closers, just like Os, but it shines in terms of single target damage. If you're looking to take down individual enemies quickly, Quai is the Quinque for you. The problem, though, is that it has extremely low range, so you've got to be right in the thick of things to make it work. Quai also struggles in 1vx situations. It's great for picking off enemies one by one, but when things get chaotic and you're outnumbered, it can be a little tougher to handle. Still, if you're playing smart and picking your battles, Quai can be a great choice. All three of these Quinque have a lot to offer, but they each come with their own set of strengths and weaknesses. Narukami is perfect for PvE and AoE damage, but it requires some skill to use effectively. Eus is a PvP powerhouse with easy combos and hard-to-block moves, but its low mobility can be limiting. And then there's Quai, which excels at single-target damage, but struggles when there are multiple opponents to deal with. In the end, these Quinque are all solid options for players who want to perform well in both PvP and PvE, but keep in mind that they all have areas where they could use a little help from other Quinque. Whether you're clearing out waves of enemies with Narukami, dominating in PvP with Aus, or taking down bosses with Quai, these Quinque will definitely help you on your journey, but they won't quite carry you all the way to the top like S-tier Quinque would. Still, they're powerful tools in your arsenal. Just make sure to pick the right one for the job. The Kagunes in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Ginkui, 13's Jason and Ixa. Let's dive into the S-tier Quinque in GHOUL RE. If you've made it this far, you're probably wondering what makes these Quinque so special. Well, buckle up because these are the heavy hitters, the ones you'll want in your arsenal if you're aiming for domination. These Quinque not only have some of the highest damage and utility, but also require serious skill and resources to craft. So, let's break down why these are considered the best of the best. First up, we've got Ginkui. This Quinque is extremely strong when it comes to mobility, damage, and combo potential. If you know how to use it properly, it can be one of the best Quinque in the game, giving you the edge in almost any fight. However, the catch here is that it requires a bit of skill to use. It's not exactly a pick-up-and-play kind of weapon, but if you can master it, the rewards are definitely worth it. You'll have a serious powerhouse on your hands. Next, let's talk about 13's Jason. This Quinque is incredible for 1vx encounters. It offers great AoE, area of effect, damage, and top-tier mobility on all its moves, making it one of the easiest Quinque to play with in those chaotic multiple enemy situations. It deals very good damage, and for most players, it's extremely beginner-friendly. So if you're not looking to deal with the learning curve, this one's for you. The only downside? Its range is a bit on the lower side. So while you'll be wrecking everything in close quarters, long-range combat can be a bit trickier. And then, we have Aixe, which is a fan favorite. This Quinque brings something unique to the table, a ranged mode that is OP for kiting enemies. If you're the type of player who loves staying on the move and attacking from a distance, Aixe is a dream come true. Not only is its ranged mode effective, but its overall damage and combo potential are fantastic. It also packs a lot of utility into its kit, which makes it versatile for a variety of playstyles. Much like the Ginkui, though, Aixe requires a bit of skill to use. It's not quite as easy to pick up as 13's Jason, but once you've got the hang of it, you'll be able to unleash some serious damage. What sets these Quinque apart from the rest is their combination of versatility, mobility, and raw power. Each one brings something different to the table, but all of them have the potential to be absolutely game-changing. Whether you prefer Ginkui's combo potential, 13's Jason's ease of use, or Aixe's ranged dominance, you'll find that these Quinque can handle pretty much any challenge the game throws your way. However, remember that these Quinque aren't just handed to you. They're all legendary rarity, meaning you'll need to put in the work to gather rare materials and blueprints to craft them. But if you're serious about your game and want to rise to the top, These Quinque are well worth the grind. So, whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, if you manage to get your hands on one of these S-tier Quinque, you're going to feel pretty unstoppable. In conclusion, these Quinque are the cream of the crop in GHOUL RE. They each have their strengths and quirks, but what they all share is the ability to carry you through some of the toughest battles in the game. Master them, and you'll be well on your way to becoming one of the top players. So, what are you waiting for? Time to start crafting! The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.